Gabriella Deyi here, the host of LogiTalk here at Logitech. Welcome to our 6th episode. June is Pride Month here in the US and is just one of the many Pride celebrations all over the world for the rest of the year. Pride brings events, celebrations, testimonies, and think pieces designed to remind us all that while there's so much progress, the struggle for LGBTQIA plus equality is far from over. The history of Pride is actually rooted in activism. Dating back to the 60s in the US, when the LGBTQIA plus community stood up against police brutality during the Stonewall riots. That sparked an uprising that launched a new era of resistance and revolution. We are now in a brand new era of intersectionality. An era that is energetic, filled with education, changes, and allows the LGBTQIA plus community a chance to still be activists, but to also be diverse and not a stereotypical monolithic group. Because let's face it, no group is. We are all intersectional in some way. For that reason, I can't think of a better person to discuss Pride with than our guest today. Patty Gonia is a point-blank and period an icon in the intersectional environmentalist movement. Patty's long-term and consistent goal is to promote positivity, diversity, and inclusivity to the outdoors. Patty Gonia was created by photographer Wynn Wiley. At first, she was a fun side project that turned into a full-on alternate persona. Patty allowed Wynn to explore all sides of his gender expression and in turn inspired others to do the same. Queerness is deeper than a quick label to Patty. It is a journey to self and the understanding of others. Whether she is posting inspirational content or backpacking through the Colorado Rocky Mountains in 6-inch heeled boots, Patty has helped us all see what Pride is really about from the inside out. Hi, Patty. Welcome to LogiTalk.
Thank you so much for having me, Gabby. I am so excited to be here.
I'm excited as well. I'm really, really excited to have you. I do have a surprise for you. So, give me 1 second.
I'm so excited. How did you know that I love surprises?
I heard that you're the first queen of backpacking. And I used to be in Wisconsin. So, you know...
all the snaps. This makes my whole life.
To give you, like, the full-on get-up.
You know, I'm living my full fantasy, and so are you, and our hair is both extremely high. So here we are.
It's gonna take... It might take a toll to get this off to have a conversation, but...
I think you need to leave it on the whole time. This is great. Just live into that queen.
Oh my gosh. And what is the saying? The higher your hair is to what? The higher your hair is to...
Well, you know... Yeah, I feel like the higher the hair, the closer to Mother Nature, you know? That's how Patty rolls. So, actually, fun fact for you, Gabby, literally how I got my hair so high under here is literally because we reused plastic bags and, like, just stacked them underneath in different spots. So, sustainability tip to be shared.
Just ditch the hairspray, and we're just gonna go to plastic bags and keep reusing these to keep my hair high.
Yeah, it looks kind of interesting and like very lopsided, but I kind of like it. You know, it's kind of like not even. It's my fantasy. It's my reuse fantasy.
It looks perfect to me.
Thank you so much.
So, Patty, I want to dive right in, but I also think it's really important for people to know why I'm going to address you as she, her, they, or he, his, they throughout the interview. What are your pronouns, and why are pronouns even so important when starting off a conversation with anyone? I love how you explain it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that pronouns are an amazing way to let people know that you really respect them and love them for all that they are. And so I love to go by she, he, they all the time because I don't just live life as Patty, believe it or not. I live a lot of my life without this wig on my head. So, and I love sharing from both experiences. So I think it's really important to come at you as the queen, Patty, but also as the very muggle and regular walker through the world of Wynn as well. So she, he, they pronouns are great for me today.
And I think that you described that perfectly when you talked about the angles that gives you, because that's what brings diversity to your experience and brings diversity of knowledge to other people who interact with you. So I'm really excited to just dig deeper into that today, and wanted everyone who is watching and listening to know why I keep going back and forth, and why you may go back and forth too. And so
Absolutely.
to go even
Yeah.
further than pronouns, you represent pride in so many beautiful ways. But I'm curious to know what piece of the pride flag you do represent.
Well, I think that nature shows us in rainbows all around us, and in all of nature, that nature is incredibly queer. So I don't think I represent a certain color. I think I love the whole rainbow. I'm learning that my identity and how I feel is very fluid and is very just always changing. And I think that it's really important to really give yourself that freedom. I think for a really long time in my life, I didn't give myself that freedom. And so I want every queer person to know that every color of the pride flag represents them, and they represent pride too. And even if you aren't out of the closet yet, and you're still closeted, or you're still questioning or finding out who you are, I hope you can feel included in pride, because I think that for me, pride's a celebration of all that all of us are. It's not just for queer people, it's for allies as well.
You use the word queer in this conversation, and it's a word that we're starting to hear more often and in many different spaces. What exactly is the root of that word? How do we all use it? What is it? What is the importance of it?
Totally. Well, I think that in my parents' generation, they heard the word queer as a slur and as a bad word. And I think it's a word that the queer community is finally claiming as a word that actually celebrates us and represents us, and is really taking that back. And I think also, just to be really transparent with you, we keep on adding letters to this LGBTQIA, ABCDEFG, and I can't even keep track of it. So queer really works well for me to represent every identity that is not necessarily heterosexual or not necessarily cisgendered. So, yeah.
You know what? I think even with all the letters adding on, though, as an ally to the community, we could say the whole alphabet, and I would be fine with that, as long as it acknowledges everybody. And I'm glad that there actually is more vocabulary being introduced along with the word queer. It gives a deeper, more versatile understanding of how different people are in this community. They're not stereotypical, they're not monolithic. I'm going to dive even deeper into your story. Can you remember the first time that you celebrated Pride? How you felt? Maybe even what you faced prior to celebration, and how people received you celebrating.
Yeah, that is really interesting to reflect on. I don't really know that I've been asked about that much, but being from Nebraska and being from the middle of the Midwest, we really didn't have a lot of Pride things going on even a decade ago. So I actually experienced my first Pride up in Minneapolis, and I went as a part of a singing youth choir thing. And at the time, I was actually still closeted. And it was a really big step for me to realize that, there are people that are gay, that are normal, that are also, that normal is not even a word. There are people out there. Because at the time, the frame of reference that I had were just people in pop culture. So it was really beautiful to get to experience and be in community and be in a space where there were other queer people other than just myself. Granted, in this youth choir, there were so many other closeted kids, but we weren't ready to accept our identities yet. So I think it was a really important moment, and that's why I think that Pride is so important, is because it's really important to be seen, to see that queer people exist across the spectrum. And it was really inspiring for me to then, a year later, come out of the closet.
Oh, wow. That gave me chills, because I think of Little Win.
Little corn kid Win, just this ginger running around getting sunburned as heck.
Yeah, I think of Little Win, and I think of Little Win in the Midwest, and how many other Little Wins there are that have this first discovery at something as simple as camp, or at recess, or at school. It's you never know what someone's going through, and it's so important to always remember that when approaching someone, because it's so easy to forget.
I cannot agree more. Could not agree more.
So you gave me that little chunk of your journey. So that makes me want to think about maybe young adult Win. How did you decide that drag was the way that you wanted to express yourself?
Okay, I'm gonna take you back to like me as a 6-year-old, okay? And then I promise we'll get there. I'll get there fast. So basically, my first experiences, even in the outdoors, were literally in my backyard performing Cats the musical or like Phantom of the Opera the musical for an audience of literally like my cats in the backyard. Like that was my first true queer outdoor experience, and I should have known then that drag was going to be my life and my thing, but my story coming from the Midwest was that I took a path where even when I did decide to come out of the closet at age 18, I was still incredibly filled with toxic masculinity and internalized homophobia, and I was not planted in safe soil that supported me and supported my growth as a queer person. And it really took me a decade of being out of the closet, almost a decade, to really truly realize, okay, I can't live my life with conditional love, with people that are only going to love me if I do this or if I don't do that. So like when I came out of the closet, I was accepted, but what happened was I had people tell me, well, we love you, but never do drag, never paint your fingernails, never wear bright colors, never get any queer friends. For sure, don't ever be trans, as if it was a choice too. And so I internalized that, and I became everything that everyone needed me to be rather than everything that I actually was. And I think we all do that. I think we all edit. I think we all go through the world with different facades, with different ways that we're trying to impress others or not take up space or be to make and exist to make other people happy rather than ourselves. And so for me, doing drag for the first time in my life was a huge line in the sand that I'm going to do this for me. And I'm going to live my life for me. And it was almost like a second coming out of the closet. In fact, I actually think it was my true birth of self in life. And I think that's when I really kind of changed my identity from just a gay man to a queer person, because this is all of me. And somewhere deep inside was this incredibly effeminate, ridiculous, just loving self waiting to be born. And so, yeah, that's drag for me, is really a reminder of self-love to myself every time I do it. And I think it's really important for us to realize that just coming out of the closet doesn't mean we're fully out of the closet. It's the starting line of a continuation of closets we come out of day after day after day.
That was beautiful because it speaks to so many existences of so many different people. Just finding that balance inside of yourself that may not quite make sense to anyone else, but makes sense to you, and you feel good in that, and you feel present in that. And that's what I heard you talking about. I just felt this very present energy, this balance when you found drag. And out of curiosity, how long did it take you to down pat the look? Please let us know. Please let us know.
You know, it's always different. I feel like I'm getting way better at makeup. It used to take me like 4 hours, but now it takes me 2, which is a massive improvement. But it's crazy. We're going to get really personal on this Logitech Brio camera, but like, it's kind of crazy. Like this line underneath my eyebrow, that's where my eyebrow actually is. And then the eyebrow on top is just like painted onto my face. So it's kind of crazy how you can sculpt a new face on your face. And that's why drag queens kind of look so different when we have our eyebrows on. It's because we're literally painting on a new face. Logitech, are you getting this? Can you get this close up? Is it just like the fiercest, most...
Cameras, we need to build our cameras to be as great as to detect where the natural line has started on a drag queen. That's where we need to go with this.
Yes.
That's the basis of our testing for our cameras. I've actually heard you talk about your eyebrows, and I've heard you say you use an Elmer glue stick, like the one garden.
Absolutely, yeah. Every single drag queen, for the most part, uses a glue stick to glue your eyebrows down because it's like non-toxic. It's great. It's just removable via water soluble, and it's great. It's really effective, and it's a product that works. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh my word. As a beauty queen, this is a whole nother realm. So I'm also very, very intrigued. We have our tricks, but I really feel like drag queens have better tricks, if I'm being honest.
Listen, we all have something to teach each other. I'm sure you could teach me so much that I need to learn too about like literally how to strut the stage. So tutorials to come soon on logitech.com.
We will be working on that. I need to learn how to hike with boots on. You need to learn how to walk in heels on stage, maybe even in a swimsuit. We'll figure that out.
May Mother Nature have mercy, because I am the palest person on planet Earth. So literally those stage lights, it would be horror.
We'll get you right. We'll get you right. So let's dive into your activism, because that's a really important part of what you do. That is even bigger than your drag, I would say. Your drag is just an intro to the work you do. So what was the moment that you realized, wow, I can really connect what I'm doing here to sustainability and environmentalism? How did the two intersect for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I really want to be honest with y'all. Like, activism was not a part of my life until Patty was born. It really wasn't until I started doing drag and spending more time in the outdoors and building community for different marginalized groups in the outdoors and falling in love more with nature that I realized how worth it is to fight for. And I think that's really what's missing from a lot of our activism today. I think people look at someone like me and they're like, oh my gosh, activism. No, anyone can approach activism in any way that works for them by tapping into their identity and what they care about and who they are and their unique talents and abilities. But also, we hear things like, we have to advocate for this group all the time. We have to advocate for our planet all the time. And I believe that, yes, that's true. But also, first, we have to fall in love with our planet. We have to fall in love with each other. And we have to fall in love with ourselves. Because let's not forget that we fight for what we love. So I think if we can be out in nature more, if we can connect with people that are different than us more, really activism will follow naturally, because we'll be motivated every day to wake up and give 1% more shits, to just care more, to do more because we know how much is on the line. I think our problem is that we're really disconnected from these things.
Amen. Can you add preaching to your repertoire? Because I feel like you just sent me to church, and hallelujah, amen to everything you just said. There is a thread that runs through inclusivity, accepting yourself, then falling in love with the earth that you are a part of and that you take from and that you can give back to. It is all very intersected, and it all really starts with coming to terms with who you are and then making sure you know what you stand for. And it's okay to have multiple outlets. I think once you know yourself, you realize how diverse we are within ourselves, not just our race, our gender, our sexual orientation, our ethnicities, but really we are just diverse as people. We have so many talents and so many places to put our talents and our love and our strength that often goes unlooked because we're just trying to fit into one mold and do one thing. So I'm very, very grateful that you brought that up. It makes me even think about binary thinking and how you can really speak to the dangers of that, because you are a white male photographer as Wynn Wiley, and then you are a drag queen, a woman able to really express your femininity as Patty, and as an environmentalist. So what does that duality do for you, and what do you think that we can all learn from that duality that you are able to express so well?
Okay, well, you brought up so much that I love talking about, so I'll break it into kind of two pieces. Let's talk about binary thinking first, and then let's talk about something that I think is kind of a really hush-hush thing to talk about, and I don't think it should be that way, which is privilege. Let's dive into it. So I think first let's start with binary thinking. I think if we look around us, if we look at nature, what we actually see is that binaries don't exist, categories don't exist, boxes don't exist. We create those because it's the only way that our brains know how to handle information. So we look at that thing and we say, oh, that thing is a cat, that thing is a banana, that thing is a person. And so we put these things into categories, but really there's not just categories of she or he or right or wrong or politically left or politically right. I think that we need to give ourselves the ability to be truly all that we are, which is not stuck in a binary. Even gay or straight. That's why I love the word queer, because queer encompasses literally the lack of a binary. It encompasses a rainbow of identity, a true spectrum. And I love that. And I find a lot of comfort in that. And I think that for me as a queer person, the outdoors and nature were really weaponized against me since forever, because I was told that me being gay was unnatural, when really it's nothing but natural. Really, my queerness is nothing but the rainbow that nature is as well. And also, it's kind of funny. Literally, there was just a lightning strike and some thunder outside the window as I said that. So I think Mother Nature is entering the chat. So this is amazing.
Talk about duality.
Yeah.
It's like 90 degrees here in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yep.
It's raining and thundering where you are. So keep on.
I think that binaries really limit us, and I think that spectrums and queerness really releases us from that, because really I think we hold so many identities that often maybe are at conflict with each other, even within our heads. And I mean, I think that brings me to like talking about the second part of what you talked about, which is, that I, outside of drag, am a cisgendered white male. And also I do some really queer and some really marginalized stuff in the outdoors, of doing drag in the outdoors and being unapologetically me and letting my queerness truly fly. And so for me, that's a really interesting intersection that I think a lot of us have, which is maybe a marginalized status or identity, but also a whole lot of privilege, and also a whole lot of, I don't even like to say gray area, but just spectrum of rainbow of identity, we are also this, but we are also this, and we're also this, and we're also this. And I think that when we can really think about that, we can really realize how much our identities in all its form, whether that is a privilege or whether that is a marginalized status or anything in between, really provides us opportunities and motivation to do work around allyship, to do work around activism. And a lot of our statuses, if they are privileged statuses, allow us to have access to space or to conversations that other people don't. So it motivates me even more to advocate in the outdoors for Black people that are also queer, for trans people, especially for Black trans people, because if I have this privilege, what can I provide for other people within my community and outside of my community?
I hope everybody just absorbed that in, because you really touched on the intersection of social impact and sustainability, taking your privilege and using it to create better for others, and using it to create something that's lasting for others. So I think it's really important for people to understand the exact work that you're doing in the outdoors. You have been seen going on anywhere from outdoor hikes to doing beach cleanups. So I just want to know in some deepness, what goes on? How do you think of the events that you do? Who do you include? And just how does all of that take place? How does your activism in action take place?
Yeah, totally. I think it kind of falls under three different umbrellas. The first is just community, community, community. We are looking to build community in the outdoors for queer people and for other marginalized people every chance we can get. And that is always rooted in collaboration. There's no community effort that I do alone. I have an incredible team of queer people and allies that I do this work aside, along with other incredible BIPOC, AAPI, passionate activists and advocates in the outdoors. And so we'll do anything from just like you said, beach cleanups, to trail work and trail cleanups, to group hikes that are safe spaces for queer people, to group hikes that are also open to allies and those exploring their queerness, all the way to, we just launched a 14 scholarships for 14 youth participants for this LGBTQ backpacking course next fall. So really to reach people where they're at, no matter what that is, whether that's, if you want to experience the outdoors through a 14-day backpacking trip, we have something for you through our community offerings. If you want to do something that's a hike around your city that's accessible to you in a city, if you don't have the ability to get to a national park or to take the time off work, we want to provide experiences for those people too. So that's community. I'll keep these other two short. But the second thing is just nonprofit partnerships. I don't need to found a nonprofit, but what I need to do is to use my privilege and also my skills outside of drag to work with different brands or different funders to redirect funding to nonprofits. So this is me using a unique skill that I have in the workplace as a form of allyship and advocacy and activism to really say, hey, brand X, you want to donate this much money. Cool. Let's think about where you can donate it to make an impact for people with less privilege than yourselves at this brand. And so it's really cool. We get to drop huge financial contributions from brands or from other individuals to nonprofits that are supporting these communities as well. And then the third thing I would just say is just, if the door's open for you, hold it open for others. I am here to create a community of other advocates and activists and link them with other opportunities, link them with other sponsorships, link them with other support in different ways. And I think that that's kind of I view it as the mortar between my bricks in a way. And I think it's something we all can do. We can all connect people to each other. And I think there's so much power and beauty in relationship, right? Because through a relationship, you build trust. And I think trust is one of the most beautiful things we can all embrace in our activism, in our allyship, is to get to know people different than you. And then to work together and to just bring it back to what I said in the beginning of collaborate. Don't do this work alone. Make it joy-filled. Make it fun and use your talents and your skills. So yeah, that's us. That's my work. It keeps me very busy. It is I feel so privileged to do this as a full-time job, and to really get to create community for people and to create space for people to fall in love even more with nature and even more with themselves.
And you know what? That's what we here at Logitech love so much about you, because you do make it a full-time job, and we want to encourage and support you in that. And the way that you said, if you can, once you open the door, hold the door for others, that stuck. That was pretty deep and pretty rooted in what you do. Is it difficult at all to get underrepresented groups out? Is that what are the barriers that you're facing when you're looking at underserved communities and trying to get them into the outdoors and exposed?
Such a good question. I just want to add a disclaimer too. So many of these things are things that I heard for 10 years of my life too. And I was oh, I've heard barriers to access, but I never really understood what it meant. And so I really want to break it down for anyone who might think that that's a new term for them, because I think it's really important to just nod to accessibility even in these terms we're talking about. So a barrier to access is when basically one group of people has more things in their way. I like to think of it as, we often think that we're two different people at the same starting line, in that we're both given equal opportunity to just run that track, when really there's so many more obstacles in one person's way than another. And so when we think about barriers to access, it's oftentimes us having to hurdle over things to be able to just finish the same race. So in the outdoors, that means, guess what? Not everyone has a car and the ability to drive 4 hours in their private car up to Yosemite National Park. Sometimes that means, for a trans person, they don't necessarily feel as welcome in the outdoors or as safe to be alone. For women as well. When I think about plus size people in the outdoors, there's so much fat shaming and there's so much fear around going into the outdoors. For plus size people, there's so many barriers. And I think for a lot of queer people too, traditionally it's a space that doesn't feel safe to us. I think that's why the traditional narrative is for queer people to run to cities for acceptance, because in cities we find safe communities, safe places to be, and in the outdoors maybe you're alone. And so I think that it's really important to just realize that not everyone can get into the outdoors in the same way that like other people can, and that's a form of privilege too. And I think that for every single person that experiences the outdoors, we really need to realize like being an outdoorist means advocating for other outdoorists that are different than ourselves. And I think that like we can carry that from the trails into our real life too. So I don't think it's exclusive. I don't think it's a binary. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of barriers, and I think there's a lot of work to do to provide equal access to the outdoors.
And what I hear you saying is really the theme of awareness, being aware outside of yourself. So once you find yourself, now let's work on being aware of others and getting their equity and equality, which I love that you explained in more eloquent words than I ever could. But you really explained that difference between equality is everyone having the same opportunity, and then equity is really digging deeper than that and saying like, okay, we're giving everyone the same starting line, but do we all have the same obstacles going down that racetrack? And that's what equity is all
Absolutely.
about. And I think that your activism really addresses that, because you're thinking about all people in all different regions and what their barriers are to the outdoors, sustainability, and just being in the environment in general and feeling connected to it. How can we get them there? And so I'm curious to know, what is the best way that you think we can all educate ourselves on LGBTQIA plus issues, or issues for anyone in any group that we don't belong to?
Such a good question. When I think about my life and getting to know people's experiences and to really get to knowing these issues for other groups of people, I think about two things. One, there's so much research and reading and education that's available at the touch of your fingertips now. And I think there's amazing open source resources, whether it be amazing YouTube videos that explain kind of the why and how behind a lot of these issues, or behind a lot of these groups and the issues they face. But then there's also literally amazing literature and resources and books. But then also I think that nothing has made a bigger difference in my life than getting to know someone that's not like me. So I think my biggest advice for anyone that wants to step up and be more of an ally is get to know a queer person. We often think that in allyship, it's about serving 10,000 people, or it's about doing like what I do, which is like a lot of community work. And it is not that on the ground. In my life, outside of drag, in my day-to-day life, it's about just being a good friend and a good person to people that are different than myself, and really putting myself in their shoes. And instead of just saying, how are you doing? Just stepping up and like taking action. And it's better to do something than to do nothing. You know, we hear this all the time, but I think we need to carry it out in our friendships. So get to know someone that's not like you. Get to know a queer person. I think what you'll build in that relationship will be the root and the foundation of so much more allyship to come.
Again, please add preaching to your resume, because you know how to do it. That was
Here we are.
I think that's even what I always struggle with as a person, right? People come to you for answers, and the simplest answer on education is, why don't you befriend someone who's not like you? Let them into your space, let them into your thoughts, let them into your world. Don't shut them out, and don't support them from afar. Really get to know them intimately. And that's something that we can all do in the workplace, that we can all do in our lives once you're vaccinated. And just be more open human beings. I think if the pandemic has taught us anything, it's that being around other people is crucial to our health and our survival. But let's be better about how we are around other people. Let's be more inclusive. Let's be more aware of maybe how different our friend group or our family does not look, and be proactive on including people into our lives that are not like us, so that we can get a real deep education about who they are and the communities that they belong to. Wow.
Absolutely.
I'm really attracted to you, Patty, because your energy just radiates goodness. But why do you think the world is so attracted to Patty?
I think there's a drag queen inside everybody. So I think that when people see drag queens, they see the inner kid, you know? For me, drag is my playground to get to express myself and be all that I am. And I think we all need more of that in our lives, you know? And I also think why people are so attracted to Patty is just because, let's call it what it is, the work of activism, and oftentimes, especially like the environmental movement, can be very doom and gloom. And I think we need to create space for people to celebrate with each other, to be with each other, to embrace all they are. You know, there's a really amazing quote by this Black environmentalist, Mary Hegler, that goes, the thing about climate is that you can be so focused on the problems, or you can become obsessed with the possibility and the creativity of solutions. And I think about that all the time in my work. And it doesn't mean turning a blind eye and being like, I'm just going to skip over here and do nothing. But it means I'm going to build community that's rooted in accountability with love. It means I'm going to build community that people feel like they are a part of and feel approachable to me. It means I'm going to build community where, like, I don't want people to call me a queen. I want people to call Mother Nature a queen, and I'm just her little weird ginger daughter that's running around everywhere, like trying to gather people together, you know? So, like, I think about in my life, like, yeah, it's all about that. It's all about building joy and space for people to love themselves and figure out more of who they are. Because I think when we know who we are, we can advocate best for other people.
You keep it so real, and I think that's not what a lot of people would think when they approach maybe a drag queen. They don't think like, oh, this person's gonna keep it real because they see all the hair and the makeup. But it's like, that is the essence of you being you, and that is the realest form that you feel balanced in. And so when you talk and you express yourself, I can hear that and I can feel that, and I know everyone watching and hearing can feel that too. And it pains me to think that this interview is going to end, but I want it to keep going. So I'm going to try to throw a couple more questions at you before I have to let you go. I've heard you say that Patty has taught you so much about when. And I'm really curious to know, what are some of the lessons that you've learned from Patty?
Yeah, well, okay, I want to hit y'all with the real. I think that, like, first of all, in a very funny way, like, Patty is always the little, like, minion that's sitting on my shoulder being like, you should care more about the planet, or I'm watching you make these decisions. So it's become my little conscience in a way. So, like, that's fun. I feel like I carry her everywhere. But two, it's like, I would say it really is, it's not about what it's taught me. It's about, like, what it reminds me every day, and also what it reminds me of, that, like, I'm not quite there, you know? Like, I think when people see me, they see this person that's living unapologetically and being all that they are, and that's just accepted themselves so much. No way. I have to work on that every single day. But I have a reminder in my life that's literally a persona of mine that reminds me that, like, things are possible when you accept yourself, and that you are worthy of love, and that you are loved, which sounds very like, but, like, I really mean it. Like, we get to give ourselves that gift, and it's free, and it's capable for everyone. But also, a lot of queer people really have a lot of things that are already in their way. You know, I have good friends of mine that have, like, attended conversion therapy that their parents put them in. I have other good queer friends of mine that are living in a body that doesn't feel like their own. And I think we have a lot that we have to just get through, even to just be alive every day. All of us do. So I think that, like, not to, like, take you down this deep, depressing rabbit hole, but, like, Patty to me just symbolizes what's possible for me in my life, and that, like, love for myself is possible, even on, like, days where it's really hard to love myself. So yeah, that's what Patty does for me. But I think that, like, you know, I think about this all the time. Like, there's this, the metaphor of coming out of the closet, right? I think you have to come out of the closet, but then I think you have to put on your boots. And I think some days it's really hard to put on those boots. Even in my own life as Patty, it's really hard to put on those boots. Some days I don't want to do it. Some days I don't feel capable enough to put on those boots, and that's okay. I want you to know it's okay it's enough just to come out of the closet and love yourself for who you are. Because those boots will be ready for you when you're ready to put them on, but like you can't put them on and fight for other people and fight for things you care about until you can come out of that closet yourself, So that's what Patty really reminds me as well.
Wow. We spoke about perseverance. We spoke about activism. We spoke about acceptance. We spoke about celebration. And we touched a little bit on allyship. And I think coming from Logitech, that's always going to be our goal. That's why we create partnerships with activists and creators like yourself, because we want to get better at supporting the people that we create for. And so I'm wondering, from your perspective, as we get to the end of this conversation, what can we do better for creators like yourself? What can we do better for activists like yourself? Or maybe even, why is this partnership so important? Why is it so needed?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, I think that what I'm always going to say is to root for the underdog. I feel like I'm still an underdog in a lot of ways. But I love when anyone, whether it's a brand or an individual, steps up to the plate for someone when there's nothing to get back in return, when there's just a beautiful relationship there. And I think that when I think about Logitech in general, I think that there's just opportunity to continue to deepen partnerships, because I think it's really easy for me to discount even a lot of other people's work, because my ego loves to do that. My ego loves to be their work, I do this over here. But really it's behind every single creator, behind every single Instagram account, behind these digital drag facades are people, and people care for things. And so I think that it's so much better in our lives, whether it's as a company or a brand or as an individual, to really realize less is more, and to really realize too that it's better to go deep with people rather than to go wide with people. And so I'm trying to remind myself that I don't need any bigger platform. I have 340,000 people. That's 7 sports stadiums. I don't know, football stadiums. I don't know sports things. Okay. But I couldn't serve those people my whole entire life if I tried, So I think it's really good to just think about deepening partnerships, deepening relationships, bringing authenticity there, which is what I feel from you, Gabby. I mean, no BS. It is so beautiful to enter into a conversation with someone that I feel it's a safe space. And I think that that's something that really everyone listening can carry into their lives, especially between relationships in the workplace as well, where we often don't think about how important safe space is to truly be all that we are. But it's even more important when we're doing work and collaborating together.
Oh, thank you so much, because you have been the light of my day, my week. I've been looking forward to talking to you for forever. And I know so many people that follow you are going to enjoy this conversation, because it's getting at the root of who you are and what you do. And that's what you're talking about. That's where authenticity comes from, the root of who you are. So I usually ask all my guests this question because we launched a campaign earlier this year, and that was centered around defying logic. So it's really cool to hear everyone's explanation of what defying logic means to them. I mean, I think everyone can look at you, see you, know what you stand for, and know that you're defying logic every day. But what does it mean to you to defy logic?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. I think for me, defying logic means taking that leap of faith where you don't know what's on the other side. I think about so many points in my life, the things that felt the best to my gut truly defied what I think I should have done, or what the right thing to do would have been, was just to go for it and trust my gut, to trust myself. So defying logic to me means to just go for it, and to go with your gut, and to go with things that let you embrace all that you are, no matter how ridiculous that might seem to another person or wrong that might seem to another person. Screw that. Do you.
I love that. I love that. And I know that everyone listening probably thought that that was my last question. But if you've seen episodes prior to this, then you know that I love to play a this or that game with my guests. And Patty, I think you have to like this one because I'm asking you the question.
I'm
But
stoked.
on
I'm
your
stoked.
YouTube channel, I want people to check this out. On your YouTube channel, you do a lot of covers to really popular songs um, that are pretty modern and also old school, and you do them to the theme of activism and saving the planet. So I figured that the best thing to do for our this or that game was figure out what your favorite songs are and maybe what you're thinking about doing in the future for some of your future videos by giving you song
Love
choices
it.
and you having to choose between the ones that you like the most.
Perfect. Let's do it. I'm so ready to play.
All right.
This is great.
All right. So number one is going to be, you're going to have to choose which one you like the best. So Levitating by Dua Lipa. Love that song. Or Ain't No Mountain High Enough by Marvin Gaye.
Oh my gosh. I mean, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, for sure. It is stood the test of time over decades. And, you know, as a queen that loves to strut down the trails, the mountains are calling, so I must go.
I love I really need people to go see your videos because they are amazing. You've even created some yourself with your own lyrics and your own words, and they're remarkable. The visuals are better than a lot of music videos these days, actually. So next up is going
Thank you
to
very
be
much.
Ariana Grande's Positions or What's Love Got to Do With It by Tina Turner.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, can I tell everyone a fun fact?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
Ariana Grande follows me, and so I feel like if she ever sees this, I have to say her.
You have to choose.
I have to choose it. Okay, but listen though, both songs are great. You know what? Screw a binary on this answer. I'm gonna say both are amazing and both are great. Ari, I love you. I like also just we're gonna go with both for that one.
Honestly, you win. I can't believe Ariana Grande follows you. That is like a dream of
Literally.
several people. Oh my god.
I know. She sometimes sends me heart emojis and I fall over dead.
Oh my gosh, I would
So.
not be able to sleep at night. I would not be able to sleep at night. Okay, we gotta move
here we
on
are.
before I fangirl. 24K Golden's Mood. Or, just think about that, because that's a poppin' song right now.
It's so
And
good.
Don't Go Near the Water by the Beach Boys.
Ooh.
I know, I'm sorry.
Here's the
I'm
thing.
sorry.
Here's the thing, like my grandma is such a fan of the Beach Boys and like I listened to it my whole entire life growing up, so I have to go the oldies. Beach Boys.
Okay.
Both are
okay.
great. Both are great. Both are great.
Both are great. Both are great. Fair enough. And the last one, I'm actually going to make you choose between two songs that you've used before already.
Oh
So
my
don't
gosh.
get mad at me because they're both
This is
created
great.
by you. So we're gonna put up "Climb Every Mountain" by Rodgers and Hammerstein, which I've seen that video. And I'm
Yep,
sorry
yep,
to pit you
yep.
against Ari again, but "Thank You Next" by Ariana Grande. You've done videos with two of the songs.
Listen, there is no film on planet Earth that will ever beat The Sound of Music. And so because it's my film favorite and it's also song favorite, I feel like I have to lean away from Ari. Forgive me, Ari. But The Sound of Music, it's such a classic. It is amazing. It was pioneering for the time, and that song, like, it means so much to me. I love that song.
And it goes so well with like what you do, because you do climb every mountain in 6-inch heels. Does everyone understand?
Gabby, you think that I
concept?
climb every mountain in 6-inch heels, but it really is just like me tripping like a giant giraffe up mountains, but we eventually make it there.
You get there. You get there. The pictures are beautiful. So before we go, Patty, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for getting done up for Mother Nature and us today. Thank you.
You are so welcome. Thank you so much for having me. And you brought the glam as well, and you brought the hair height. We are in business.
I did my best. I tried.
It looks
Please
so
let
good.
everyone know where they can find you on Instagram, maybe even a website they can tag, and just anywhere that they can find you right now.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's very original. It's at Patty Gonia. But you can also check out the link tree in my bio, and we have tons of opportunities for people to apply to different outdoor scholarships for queer people, but also an LGBTQ job board. So people that are interested in careers in the environmental and outdoor space that are queer can find jobs and can be found for jobs. So a little bit of community organizing on the back end of that digital space, but then you can also find other links to other YouTube videos and shenanigans of me tripping and other fun stuff. So it is a rabbit hole of the internet.
All the things. Patty, I personally will be paying you a visit because we have a lot of fun things that we need to experience. But again,
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing yourself, your story, and your life with us here at Logitech. We're completely grateful to partner with you, and we're so excited for all the new things and exciting things and equitable things that you have to come.
Thank you so much for having me. I love this conversation, and thank you for making a safe space, and thank you, audience, for also being a part of this as well. It's so great to speak with you, and I wish you very happy, very gay trails.
Amen. I will talk to you soon. Bye, Patty.
See you later, Gabby.
Oh my gosh, what a wonderful conversation. I hope everyone's still levitating from that because I know I am. Thank you so much for joining LogiTalk today as we continue to recognize the people who are pushing boundaries to inspire and change the world. The series is going to continue to share the stories of trailblazers and to help the next generation of creators and activists be inspired. Help us all be inspired. So make sure you stay tuned for more. I am Gabby, and I'll see you next time.